combo weapons were introduced to the Dead Rising series in Dead Rising 2 and have since become a staple gameplay element to the series. Being able to combine two ordinary items to create frankly nonsensical, overpowered or impractical methods of zombie massacring added to the overall silly and madcap theme Capcom began steering the series towards. In addition to providing you with tons of fun new ways to drench Fortune City in blood, combo cards were also introduced, adding a new collection element to the game and encouraging the more RPG elements in order to increase the damage and durability of these weapons, as well as encouraging players to complete side quests and explore new areas to unlock new ones. There are 50 combo weapons in total, including with Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, which is incidentally my favourite Dead Rising title in the series, and not all of them are created equally. This is my top 10 countdown of my personal favourites. So grab your duct tape and let's begin. Number 10. The Fire Spitter. At number 10 is the Fire Spitter. Literally a children's toy that has been altered to fire out flaming ping pong balls. One of few ranged weapons that is actually decent against large hordes of zombies, as the balls will bounce from head to head, spreading flames as it goes. It's also quite a useful weapon when going for some of the gold medal challenges in sandbox mode. It's not brilliant against psychopaths, but for those who don't like getting too up close and personal with melee weapons, it isn't bad. Number 9. Paddle Saw. Next we have the Paddle Saw, literally the poster weapon of Dead Rising 2. It's two chainsaws taped to each end of a canoe paddle, which you can swing side to side and around to cut through the endless hordes in seconds. The screen will be awash with blood in no time at all, and all that will be left is a mountain of severed limbs. So why is it so low down on the list? Two reasons really. The first is that both chainsaws and paddles are relatively hard to find, so it's not an easy weapon to make without planning ahead. And secondly, it's one of those massive weapons that you can't store in your inventory bar. Try and swap it for something else, you'll just drop it. Need to refill your health? You'll have to drop it. Thus, it's not a good choice for psychopath boss fights, as more often than not, you'll be picking it up and putting it down again, rather than actually using it. Number 8. The Weed Tenderizer. At number 8 we have the Weed Tenderizer, unfortunately another massive weapon that cannot be stored in the player's inventory. Created by combining a weed whacker with a bunch of knives, Frank can pull on the cord and aim the rapidly rotating blades at the exposed ankles of any nearby zombies, slashing their arteries and causing them to bleed out on the floor. It has a fairly high durability, and thus can be used to take out large groups or safely slice yourself a pathway through the more densely packed areas of Fortune City's exterior. It's not ideal for use against psychopaths as it's rather slow, but it does come in handy during several of the sandbox mode challenges that require you to rack up kills or PP quickly. Number 7. Pole Weapon. Next on the list is the Pole Weapon, a pretty run-of-the-mill combo weapon created by taping a machete to a broom. These two items are fairly common, brooms being found in most janitors' closets and machetes often being wielded by the looters. The pole weapon is an easy to make and easy to use weapon with a very long range, allowing you to attack hordes of zombies or psychopath bosses whilst keeping a comfortable distance from their attacks. I found it rather useful throughout the story playthrough and used it in multiple situations. It was one of a handful of weapons on this list I often kept in my inventory in reserve. At first glance it may seem a bit boring, but it's actually quite good. Number 6. The Tenderizers. Next we have the Tenderizers. Some pretty brutal and badass gloves you can make using MMA gloves and a box of nails. Frank literally pokes nails through the holes in his leather gloves in order to make extreme brass knuckles. In addition to pulling off some serious MMA style jabs and punches, pressing button combos can result in some satisfying kicks to finish off the new pin cushion in front of you. Unfortunately, they have a relatively short range and aren't great against large hordes of zombies, but they do fairly well against a single psychopath or smaller groups of the undead. Fairly abundant materials for making them too. MMA gloves are found in most sports stores and gyms, and you practically trip over boxes of nails everywhere you go. Number 5. Holy Arms. At the halfway point is the Holy Arms, literally a toy sword and shield set that has been perforated with dozens of nails. Ah, nails, you have so many uses it seems. Instead of thinking of them as an offensive weapon and a defensive shield, the Holy Arms is actually 2 offensive weapons with defensive moves available. The shield manages to both block and batter at the same time, while Frank waves the spiky sword around like a madman, severely puncturing anything that dares to get in his way. The downside, like many other combo weapons, is the lack of training swords one can find in Fortune City. They can more or less only be found in the Atlantica Casino and the Slot Ranch Casino. So if you're a fan of using them like I am, I recommend stocking up when you next pass through there. Number 4. Nailbat. It's hard to beat the classics. The first combo weapon you were introduced to, the Nailbat, is a fairly decent to-go combo throughout the game. The first maintenance room outside of the safe house is always stocked with the means to build one, and baseball bats and nails are relatively common commodities. I often kept one in my inventory to fall back on when all of my other weapons had broken. A fairly decent weapon for quickly dispatching zombies, and not a terrible choice when dealing with psychopaths either. The Nailbat may be cliché, but you can't argue with result. Number 3. Laser Sword. The laser sword feels odd getting the bronze medal in this list, as when is a blade made of solid light that can cut through flesh like butter a bad choice? Well, it's not a bad choice. Quite the opposite. They're great weapons. Fast, high damaging, and they come in a variety of colours. The problem with them is they're fairly awkward to make, as one of their main components, flashlights, are also in close competition for other combo weapons and items such as the Money Hacker. The durability on them is also absolutely terrible. Gems are relatively easy to find in large quantities in jewellery shops, but flashlights can be harder to find, unless you frequently encounter looters. As the laser sword attacks fast and deals damage fast, it often falls victim to the boss battle nerfing. The more consecutive hits you get in, the less damage you'll do overall. But it's still pretty awesome to slice zombies in two. Number 2. The Defiler. Coming in second place we have the Defiler, the frankly obscenely overpowered weapon made by duct taping together a sledgehammer and a fire axe, creating a frankly unstoppable powerhouse that can simultaneously bludgeon and slash both zombies and psychopaths. The only downside is it's quite slow and bulky, and psychopaths with fast attacks and those who dodge a lot can be quite hard to strike consecutively. Plus, sledgehammers and fire axes are fairly uncommon items and are seldom found together. That aside, the sheer satisfaction on Frank's face as he smashes a group of zombies into oblivion with a 50-pound swing is pretty awesome. Number 1. Knife gloves. And at number 1 we have my personal favourite combo weapon, the knife gloves. Now I've chosen these over the Defiler for 3 reasons. 1, they're a lot faster. Yes, the Defiler may do more damage overall, but the longer wait time between swings leaves you more vulnerable to attack. 2, they're easier to make, as boxing gloves are readily available in sports stores and gyms, and knives, cleavers and other pointy objects are found in abundance pretty much everywhere. And 3, they're useful against both the Horde and against psychopaths. Their speed is useful when dispatching groups of zombies or slicing yourself a path through, and you can easily get in several slashes in a row during boss battles, then run away to allow the damage nullifier time to wear off. Plus, what isn't there to love about going slash crazy with a pair of goddamn boxing gloves with knives sticking out of them? You're like a cross between Little Mac and Wolverine.